So the Yes and Laughter Lab was started. We had started the ideas for it in 2018 and birthed this little love baby in 2019. It was really created out of the idea that we believe that comedy is so meaningful in shaping the world that we really want to be in, a world that is more just and kind and allows more people to share their stories. And we thought there must be a way to build a community for people that really want to create amazing, meaningful comedy that's saying something important about the world, sharing stories that have not been shared because our entertainment industry has been like messed up for a long time. And really we wanted to create opportunities for comedy people from really, really diverse lived experiences and backgrounds to actually have a chance to work on their most meaningful comedy work and to really have a chance to meet with other folks that are like them, to interface with the entertainment industry, to learn, wherever you come from, whether you are already an experienced writer or performer, or you're someone that's a little bit more nascent or just starting out. We wanted to bring lots of opportunities for growth and resources and training. And so that is what the Yes and Laughter Lab is. As you probably know by now, if you've hopefully researched YALL before this call, we have a pitch showcase event. As of this year, the pitch showcase event is for the fellows that are chosen for each sort of class. Mick is going to go through that in greater detail, so I'm not going to steal his thunder here. But this year, we also launched a 3-day comedy festival called YALL Fest. Maybe some of you were there, possibly some of you performed. But the Yes and Laughter, the YALL Fest really came very organically out of this community and out of our learning from all of these incredible comedians that we get to spend time with. And it's really a way to showcase all kinds of comedians who are in the YALL community by virtue of being chosen as a fellow or a finalist. And so YALL Fest is performances of all kinds, stand-up, sketch, storytelling. We have we have table reads, and it's really folks who have been, who have come through the YALL experience and are part of our community. So our mission and goal, just so you know, we are not, we've worked in all different capacities in comedy and human rights and social justice. And we put this sort of what we think of as a really special incubator and training place and community truly to lift up comedy people like all of you. There has to be a better way to build community and strength and civic and creative power for comedy people that are doing work that really, if we all listened, could actually make the world a little bit of a softer place to land. So thank you. That did not sound very Tracy Flick at all, but she is earnest, and that is also me. So that is for you, Billy Abraham, who I have not met. I'm going to pass it over to Mick Moore, who is going to explain probably more of what you want to hear than the stuff I just said, because he's going to talk about how it works and how you can prepare. Thanks
Awesome.
for being here.
Thanks, Katie. Katie, you didn't actually introduce yourself. I could introduce you, or you could take 30 seconds and tell people who you are and the organization that you run that co-runs this.
You know what? I've been in meetings all day. I forgot that, like, who is this bitch? Yes, my name is Caty Borum. I'm the executive director of an organization called the Center for Media and Social Impact, which is based at American University in DC. And oh my God, Josh holding up my book. Hello, pandering, but also quite flattering and appreciated. Pandering will get you everywhere. The Yes and Laughter Lab is an initiative that is fully co-created and run between the organization that I run and the one that Mick runs, a cultural agency, which he will tell you about, called Moore and Associates. And we have this team that comes between us. Thank you. I hope is that what you wanted, Mick? And I write books about comedy and human rights. So obviously,
Katy is an all-around very impressive person. You're getting just a little taste of all that from her resume.
Tracy Flick. No one liked her.
I am Mick Moore. I run a creative agency called Moore and Associates. Along with Katy, I'm the co-founder and co-director of the Laughter Lab. And I will try to whip through some basic information. Some of this is available on the website, some of this maybe isn't. But we really we started doing these calls, maybe year two probably, because lots of people had questions about what this thing actually is. It's a little unusual, and so we thought, oh, it'd be good if we did a call. So folks have found these useful, and hopefully we'll get to spend a lot of time on your questions. The basics of the program are pretty straightforward. Applications are now open. They've been open for a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I don't remember. But they close on July 21st. That's the more important date. So you have a bit of time to go in and fill out and submit your application. I will say, because we say it every year, and some people don't always listen, don't wait to the very last moment to submit your application. There inevitably are a dozen or so people who attempt to submit 5 minutes before midnight and fail to do so, and then we have to sort out whether we can accept their applications. So please, maybe the day before, pretend July 20th is the deadline, and if that helps you, just set a fake deadline for yourselves. Because we're pretty strict about it. So you have about a month from now to get your application done. And we usually get 400 or 500 applications, and many of them are amazing. There are a lot of great people out there with great ideas who found our program, and it's then our job to read through all these applications. So we have a process that we go through where we take these 400 to 500 applications and try to narrow it down after many readings to a small number of folks who are chosen to be Yes and Laughter Lab Fellows. This past year, I think it was 12, somewhere between 10 and 12 ish is the number we choose each year. And then in addition to the fellows, we invite a number of other people to join us as finalists. And finalists become part of the Yes and Laughter Lab community. And anyone who's in the community is eligible to participate in the festival. So there's sort of two different tracks, and again, happy to answer more questions about that. But as Caty said, you can apply for anything. We're agnostic on genre and platform, and kind of comedy. Doesn't matter what issue that you're focused on or community you come from, like, we're completely open. The two main criteria that we look for are, is there a social commentary, social justice element to your project? And can you articulate it to us? And is it comedy? So you'll see in the application, we have some questions to try to suss that out, learn a little bit about you, but hopefully the process of applying is not too painful. We try to keep it short. There's no fee, it's free. And we ask that you submit I think we're still on just one application as the principal submitter per person. Is that right, Claire? I'm gonna give false information.
Yes. So this has come up a lot before, where artists are working on their own project by themselves. They're working with a team, they're working with a writing partner, and you are going to be asked to list the principles of your project in any application. Even if you're working on a project on your own, you'll just list yourself. If you're in a duo, you apply and you write your co-writer's name or whatever it is. You cannot submit to projects where you are the lead, and we will only accept one of your projects into the lab per year. So, there's, an opportunity there for you to decide what is the best project for the Laughter Lab, and what's the project this year that you're most passionate about, that you're most excited about.
Great. Thanks, Claire. So July 21 is the application deadline. Our team, which includes us and a lot more people, then go through and read all the applications. If you go to the website, you can see who's actually on the selection committee. But it's a really incredible group of people, including many performers who you may know, and industry folks, and then some of our social justice friends. So once we manage to get the pile down to a manageable size, they go in and do a really close read of the applications. And that's incredibly useful to us because they know they they know what they're doing, they know what's going on in the industry right now, and their opinions really hold a lot of weight. So that process will take, if you submit by July 21, you will hear from us in around mid-September. That's when we finalize our decisions, and we reach out. Again, there'll be a group who gets an email about being chosen as a fellow, and then another group that gets an email about chosen to be a finalist, and then a large number of people who we ask you to maybe think about resubmitting if you weren't chosen for this year. So that's the timeline for the first part of the process. Once you find out, there's sort of two key dates, and in fact, these are dates to keep in mind even before you apply. The first is we have a training retreat. This is mandatory if you are invited to be a Yes and Laughter Lab Fellow. It's in Los Angeles. It's from November 15th to 17th. It is Bethany Hall's brainchild. She came up with it, she runs it, she pulls it together, and it is amazing. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Moujan or anyone who's been through our program. It's really both, I think, an incredible opportunity to take your idea, your pitch, and make it a lot better over the course of 2 days, but it's also an opportunity to meet your fellow fellows, and also our team and some of our friends that we bring in to help with the process. So that's a requirement. So if you're not available on those dates, this might not be the year for you to apply. The second date that's really important is YALL Fest. So the model that we use and that we've used since year one is a showcase model. So the pitch training that you go through in November is to get you ready to present your pitch, a 10-minute pitch at our showcase. And up until this past year, all of our showcases had been just sort of independent freestanding events. This year we decided to build a whole festival around our showcases. And the way the showcase works is you get 10 minutes, you get to pitch your project, and we have invited people into the room who we think are going to be interested in supporting your project one way or another. We pulled together a whole panel of folks from the industry and from our social change organizational allies to respond to your pitch, to offer up ways they can help you get your show or your film or your stand-up project or whatever it is made. And then afterwards you get to drink and be relieved that your pitch went really well. Again, Moujan, you can tell them all about it. And then that's the cycle. The great thing though is that once you're in the community, you're in the community forever. And there are lots of additional opportunities that open up to anyone who is a part of the Yes and Laughter Lab community. We run year-round programs. We do different kinds of trainings. We help people who are putting together late night packets. Like, how do you do that well? We help people who are, want to know, how do I do a general, who are interested in, different issues, et cetera. So we run lots of programs. Again, if you're part of the community, you're eligible to be in them. And if you're part of the community, you're eligible to perform at YALL Fest in April. So I'll pause there because, again, I know we have lots of questions and we want to hear from Moujan and her experience, but so excited to see so many people on this call and really looking forward to your questions and your applications.
Great. Thank you, Mick. So I'm going to add our Google form question to the chat right now. So please add your question, and but also listen up, because Moujan Zolfaghari is going to be sharing her experience about being a 2023 YALL Fellow. So Moujan, take it away.
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody, and everyone's IA assistant. I always love giving them a shout out and hoping they write my name right during it. Moujan. I am a television writer and actor. I am someone who's had experience and also applied to the YALL Fest and to be a YALL Fellow, and it was an awesome experience. I recommend everyone apply and everyone do it. for me, what was really special about it is that it kind of got me. I'm a person who like writes for many different genres and things and peoples and companies, but I rarely ever have told my own story and my own family story. And so it gave me an opportunity to really like I thrive on deadlines. So to like have a deadline to apply for an application and have a deadline to like create a pitch and to work with amazing people during the y'all weekend to get notes from everybody and like professionals in the game. And I was in a very interesting cohort this year and the last year because we went through the strike. And so my application, I think, was due like fall or winter of 2023, 2022, and we had like the weekend in May of 2023, and we didn't have the show until like very recently. So it's like been a bit of a while, this whole process. But the most amazing thing about the whole thing is also the people that you meet and the community that you build. And I got to be like a voice on an Ella Gale's podcast, who's also a member of like my y'all cohort. So yeah, so the project that I worked on was about my own family and the fact that in 1993 my brother was the first one to go to prom and we all went with him. So it's like an immigrant family road trip story. And why I feel perhaps like y'all like the story or wanted me to be part of it is that it's a story that takes the struggles of like being an immigrant but does it in a comedic lens and just I hope is a story with heart and makes people laugh and makes the immigrant story the American story, but also is fun, full of hijinks and everything like that. But it was really the notes that I got from y'all and from like my fellow cohorts who made it a better project. And I actually submitted it as a television show and a series, but because I've had experience and have pitched television shows and everything before, I was like, what's something I can really use y'all to like get me to actually make this project happen? And so I actually made it into a short film or a proof of concept to become a feature because I really wanted to connect with people to help me develop it in that way because that's a world I really don't know and don't have connections to. And so when we just did the Y'all Fest and we pitched our 10-minute pitch, I got to meet people who have since the festival given me a lot of help. And hopefully this is something that's actually going to get made in the future. And it really is because of y'all. So yeah, Saito hopefully that's some information, but feel free to ask me anything else that you need to know. Bethany, seems your mouth is about to say something.
Yeah, no, I was hoping, Moujan, we should have set you up too. You are a very experienced person in entertainment. Like you've been on all sides of writing, producing, acting, and so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how somebody with your kind of experience comes in versus somebody, like I like to think of one of our y'allers from a previous year who was just this amazing guy from Minnesota, and he came in with a great project. And, I just wonder if you can talk about like the different ways people show up to y'all.
Yeah, I think for me, I wanted to get something out of it that was something I couldn't get out of it in like the other avenues that I have. And it was to create a deadline and make myself create this show and really force myself to create a pitch for it and to go through the training of the pitch process with y'all. But also, I created as a short film and hopefully a feature because I thought if I pitch it that way, that's resources I don't have. And also I really want to make this happen. And at least with like y'all, I can get people who want to give me funding to like help make this happen. Because that's like one of the biggest barriers of creating a short film. And one of the biggest barriers of creating a feature, as opposed to like developing it as a television show, which I've been in the development game. And that's like a long process and is not a sure way, although everyone should be pitching their television shows. But I personally was like, that's something I can do with my reps. But with Y'all Fest, it's like, this is something I really want to do on my own. And it's a story I believe in. And I want to use the resources of like y'all to like really make this happen. And that really did help in a way that I couldn't have done otherwise.
And I wonder, as somebody who's gotten into y'all, and we do get a lot of applications, if you have hot tips for like what you think. I know you said, you told a really lighthearted immigration story or immigrant story, but like, as an incredible producer and writer and somebody who's been through the application project, you know, my favorite term is hot tips. Do you have hot tips for people besides, like Mick said, by making July 20th the date in your head? Hot tips for how to make your pitch stand out, your project stand out?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that makes you stand out is yourself and your own story. And so I would say pitch with something that you really believe in and a story that's, if you are doing a personal story, something that's unique to you and your own experience and not just what you think y'all wants to hear. Like you're here as a creator, you're here as a writer, as a performer, tell your story. And that's something that only you can do. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. And then I think this is my last personal question. I'm thinking about applying this year. No, I think my last question is, can you talk at all about how the social justice folks who've joined, you know, and how they've influenced your project or informed your mission or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I've have had a little experience earlier working with another project with like this organization that was a room about like writing towards making immigrants and illegal immigrants and comedy more relatable and not a scary topic. And that was with this organization called Define America. And Define America also showed up and was active part of Y'all Fest this year. And something I learned from like them specifically was just like writing characters as three-dimensional human beings and like writing your immigrant story the funniest way possible because comedy is really like a big barrier is like a common denominator that gets people to see people as people. Like if you can make everybody laugh, you can get a story someone's uncomfortable with as a story that someone is willing to listen to. So I think that's something that writing at least my story of like my family and my experience of the immigrant experience is what I used in Y'all and like what I learned in Y'all. So yeah.
I love that. Thanks, Moujan. We are so grateful to have you in our community. You're such a pillar and we just are so honored that you're part of our little crew.
Thank you, Bethany.
So I think we can move on to some of the questions that were asked. I know that I'm the person sort of reading and facilitating. So let me just reiterate, there's been a few questions like this. We are open to any type of media. So someone asked, are you open to podcasts? Yes. Are we open to animation? Yes. If you can show us in your application that this is a piece of comedy that is being created and produced that you want people to hear and see, that works for us. I believe there will be a space, there's a few different spaces in the application where you can describe in more detail if you feel like it maybe is a less understood genre or format. But yes, we're accepting all different formats and genres of comedy and types of media. There are other questions about sort of similar to what Moujan was saying about the social impact, and maybe Moujan or Bethany or really anyone can answer this one. Do the show details about how our show or idea will directly affect change have to be clear, or is it more aspirational? So do you have to have a plan for how you're going to address immigration in the United States? Do you have a plan, Moujan? We forgot to ask.
Yes. No, I don't. I have not. I don't. Just through our own little stories. That's all.
And
I'll start with that really quick. Oh, sorry, Bethany.
No problem.
I'll just say the idea here is that this program is not trying to recruit for sort of a next class of social engineers or something with that high level of like articulating grassroots change and all of that. But it, you know, an articulation that is thoughtful about how the creative work naturally connects with issues of importance, I think is really the most important part. Because part of what we hope that you would get from the Y'all experience is getting to interface with amazing leaders in the human rights space who have a lot of experience in developing that kind of grassroots work and public engagement and all of that. So I think it's somewhere in the middle of, you know, a fully articulated plan and, you know, not just one sentence. It's like, oh, this is about this topic. But I know my colleagues will want to add to that.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, Katie, I totally agree with you. But I also want to point out that I see a lot of applications come in where people are trying to prove to me that that their script or whatever is social justice, or it does elevate one of these topics. And I think I just want to remind people that sometimes your story is enough. Sometimes your lived experience does encapsulate like exactly the types of stories we want to elevate, just exactly how it is. And then the other point I wanted to make is, this is my opinion and how I read these, but I am looking for comedy. Your job is to bring the twist. You have the hard job of bringing the comedic spin on sometimes really heavy topics. And so your job is not to educate us necessarily about why your issue matters. If you look at our leadership committee, like we have some of the most qualified people in the country that can explain to us why your issue matters. Your job is to be funny, which is harder sometimes.
Yeah, I'll just add one quick thing. I tend to place things into one of two buckets. We had a lot of stories that are talking about a community whose stories have been overlooked or excluded. And so, there's a representation angle, which in and of itself, has a social impact. And then there are stories that are more sort of issue focused. So, about our drug laws, or about immigration, or about, the climate, or other things. So it doesn't cover 100% of what we get, but it's one way of just sort of thinking about it in your head. Like, am I trying to represent an underrepresented community and tell a story that doesn't get told? Or am I talking about an issue where, I'm trying to shed light on an injustice, or, something along those lines?
Awesome. Yeah, there's a couple questions that are also asking about like the level of development, or how far a project is when you apply to the Laughter Lab, and if the lab and the folks on the jury are looking for something that is ready to go. Maybe even, are they looking for something that is easy to create, or low-hanging fruit where someone can scoop in and make it right away? Or can they pitch something maybe more aspirational? And what is our opinion on that?
I can go. I feel like my pitch was aspirational. Like I think when I applied with like, this is a story I've been telling, and like as like a storyteller in comedy scenes for years, but it's nothing I really did anything with, and it's not fully formed yet, but I think it could be something. And then uh the timeline of like how y'all work gave me an opportunity to like really focus on it, and then really blow it out and be like, what would it be like as a short? What would it be like as a feature? So it started off from like kind of not the story was there, and all the elements of what happened in the story was there, but I didn't think of all the big picture stuff.
Yeah, I'll just say we get I would say technically we get anything that's like concept on paper all the way through. I mean, this year we had like a film that largely has been fully shot. So those are like the extremes. Most projects fall in the middle. So you've got a concept, and you've written a pilot episode, or you've been working on a Bible, or like, so projects tend to fall somewhere. I mean, there needs to be enough for us as readers to like be able to grasp what you're trying to do. But they don't have to be so far along. And we're also not, we're not only taking projects where it's just like, oh, like, in a year this could be made, right? There are definitely projects that like are going to take a long time. And then we do get some projects where, with some infusion of money from a foundation, like you could make this digital short, right? And we've had those projects as well.
Yeah, that's something I think is really fun about the program, is that we're kind of able to adapt to you, and we're kind of able to find the right people to be in the room, you know, if you become a YALL Fellow, like, and are able to pitch, we're able to really try and make sure the right people are there to hear the project. So if you're pitching a Onion-like website, then we're gonna try and get, you know, other media outlets in this space. Or if you're pitching something about women's reproductive rights, we're gonna make sure that the right social justice people are there, but also the right entertainment folks that that are able to take something like that on. Would, you know, we're gonna invite all of those people.
There's a couple of questions as well about should I be submitting a full script even though there are limitations and caps listed in the actual application. So what do we think about materials? What is the recommendation for submitting materials for the YALL application?
We have page limits for a reason. So I think it's 12 pages. So choose your best 12 pages, but like, this is minor, and this is me being like, well, I told Caty earlier, I'm in full on producer mode, but like, you want to be able to follow the rules that and guidelines that we're setting you. So if we asked for 12 pages and you give us a script, like, that's a little bit of a like,
Yes, I feel very silly asking questions that I very much know the answer to, but I like I like passing it off to everybody else.
just make us sound rude, Claire.
Or make me sound like I'm terrible at my job and I don't know anything about the program I direct. But a question for Moujan is, how did you apply, and what were some of the materials that you submitted, if you remember? Because it was a long time ago at this point.
Who was president? That's a good question. I think I submitted with many years ago. I kind of wrote out this story that was in my family as like a personal essay. I think I maybe submitted with that, and that's it. And then also just like told what I saw, because it was I was pitching as a television show and kind of where I see the show going, but that was kind of just in like the Q&A or the places you just have to fill out. But I think I really just gave the story in like a couple pages, and I think that was it. Yeah.
So there's a question in the chat asking to expand on what materials have stood out. I'll just say, like, having read many hundreds of applications, great writing stands out, and you know, great performances stand out. So I've watched, you know, hundreds of YouTube videos, I've read hundreds of, you know, scripts, and you know, I would say it's not just the 12-page limit, it's like, what are the best 12 is, and it's often not your first 12 pages, right? If you've written something, right? So, you know, I think we're just a little bit into the mindset of a reader, like, you're reading a lot of stuff, right? And often back to back. And so, you know, you want, like, when you read it, or when your friends read the thing that you're creating or watch something you've done, like, what's the thing that they always laugh at, or that stands out to them, or that they comment on? Because you know, really what you're trying to do is grab the attention of those of us who are looking at these applications, so that we are like, oh, there's something really interesting there, something really funny there. So I think those are things, you know, to sort of think through when you're applying. The other thing I'll just say is, like, just clarity of writing. Like, we need to understand what you're proposing. And sometimes people have a really good idea that they just haven't articulated very well. You know, we limit what you can submit, not only because it makes, you know, our jobs possible, but because we don't want to burden you all with spending a ton of time on this, right? Like, so, you know, this shouldn't take you too long. It is free. Like, you know, there are a number of things that we're doing in part for your sake as well. So, you know, don't go overboard.
And I have another hot tip. And this is my hot tip. I think people, again, back to like your job, you have an opportunity for your personality and humor to shine through even in the few questions that we ask you. So like outside of just what you're submitting, feel free to play with your answers or show us your personality through that. Show us your wit or your humor. We want to get to know you. And so if you sit down to do this application, which like Mick said, we custom made hopefully to be somewhat enjoyable and not very tricky for people, like try and let yourself answer these questions like you're not doing a book report, but that you are an entertainer or writer or whatever that really has something to say, and you have permission from us to like let your personality shine.
That was actually the next question I was going to ask you. Someone asked how serious or professional maybe should the essay response be, and I think you just answered that perfectly.
Yeah, I'll never forget one of our submitters, Murph Meyer, wrote like right on, I think one of his only answers was like, and he's a very funny comedian, but he was just like, hello, folks, I'm a former heroin addict, current alcoholic. How's your day going? And I was like, well, I know everything I need to know about this person right now, you know, with instead of writing a book report about the same kind of issue.
Go ahead, Mick.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, it can be somewhat conversational is the word I would use. You know, like we're real people. I mean, there's many more of us. We're just a few of them, but like, it's all real people who are reading this, and we're reading a lot of them. So there can be a level of informality as long as it's clear, like what you're trying to communicate. Yeah. The other thing I'd say is like, I see a lot of applications where it's just like, people look at two questions and they're like, oh, these are the same. And they then post the same answer to two questions. And I was like, they're not the same question. We wouldn't have put the same question twice. They're actually different. So, you know, spend a minute to like look at the questions and see the ways in which they're different. And we're really trying to get a different kind of answer, different information from you for each of the questions.
Yeah, I'm also seeing a few folks have asked about, is it possible to go through the application without submitting something? And you can, you know, fill out the pertinent demographic, your name and all that info. And then you can scroll through it. And if by some chance you're scrolling through it and you have to fill out required things in order to move forward and you accidentally submit, you can email our account and just let us know. And we can, you know, make it editable for you again. So you don't have to worry about that. Obviously, for the sake of us being a very small nonprofit team, I'm hoping that people submit, apply and don't ask to re-edit it 25 times, but you can edit it again. And you just have to reach out to our info account email and we'll be able to open it back up for you. So if you make any mistakes or you submit the wrong video, anything like that, you can just reach out to our team and we can open it back up for you. The only caveat is you need to resubmit by the deadline and no exceptions or extensions can be made. But we would definitely recommend you go through the application and look at it, maybe even write your answers on a separate document and then copy and paste them back in to submit. This is sort of a different question, but maybe Moujan and Bethany, as writers, as performers, you can speak to this. Like, what is the level of experience that people in YALL have had? And is there a recommended level of where you are at in your career to join the Laughter Lab?
I feel like from the folks I've met, like not really. I think you can be, I mean, everyone I think has some sort of a comedy background, but it was all ranges from all sorts of experiences and backgrounds, right, Bethany?
Yeah, I feel really passionately about this question actually. And, you know, when we were kind of conceptualizing this whole program, I think we all kind of agreed that we wanted to be able to support people from all different walks of life. So, for example, we talked about a creator from Minnesota who I don't think had very much comedy experience beyond stuff that he had done in his local community. We also had a physician's assistant from the Bronx submit an amazing project. And she was not working, but she was working as a physician's assistant, but like loved comedy and made a few things on her own. And she ended up, you know, pairing up with Roy Wood Jr. at the end of the program, and they wrote a pilot and sold a pilot together, you know, so like, but we also have very experienced writers who have been in, like, similar to Moujan, that have been in lots of TV writers' rooms and done a lot of different stuff, but they said, like, very similar, exactly what Moujan said, but like, I haven't gotten the chance to spotlight my voice, what I want to do. My agent doesn't understand what I'm trying to do. And like, this is their avenue and their way to do it, you know?
For the record, Moujan did not trash talk her agent, just to say that out
She
loud.
never
we,
did.
we love, everyone's great.
Another question that's come up a few different times, that makes a lot of sense, I think, to ask, is how much does your own social media presence and audience play into how the jury and readers of the fellowship, does it matter if you have no presence, if you don't have an account, if you have 100,000, if you have 100 million followers, how much weight is that given?
Oh, I haven't talked for a second, so I'll say what really matters is the comedy. So if you're sending people to your Instagram page and you're really funny there, that's probably awesome. I don't think that how many followers, but the material is funny. So if you're including other things about yourself that include links to your stuff, it's just important that it's good.
Yeah, don't send us the stuff that you like wouldn't send, you know, like, you're allowed to keep some secrets.
But I don't think it's not really about the number of followers. Like if we actually cared about that in a real way, we would include that as a criteria, a formal criteria in the submittable platform. And, you know, it's not to say that, you know, it's a deterrent at all, but it's just not, we're not looking for, you know, the hottest influencers or whatever. It's just good material. If you're a performer and part of what you're pitching is something where you are performing in it and you're sending people to something, if, you know, that's you performing, I would just make sure that it's really good and, you know, funny and you feel good about it.
Someone else also asked, if they should submit material or content or footage of them performing if it's unrelated and not connected to what they're pitching. And the answer to that is definitely yes. A lot of folks are applying with a concept, like an idea, hopefully a very good idea that they have, but that they're like, I just started the script or I just made the deck. But I'm a, you know, working comedian and I've been, you know, doing open mics for a long time. And I just started my new show and at this comedy place, like anything you have that shows us your chops and that you are a comedian and you're making comedy and you're writing, that is helpful to us. And like Moujan said, there might not be supporting material for this great new idea because you've never made this great new idea yet. So you've never made comedy similar to it. But I think your whole application holistically should show the different parts of you, and the idea and how funny it potentially is going to stick out to us through that. I don't know why I muted myself because I'm the one who has to talk now. Okay. Another question that we're getting is about some of the experiences that comedians and writers have had after going through the lab. Is there a sort of typical trajectory or a success story that we can speak to, or just an example of how the lab can, you know, change or affect one's career?
Everyone who's been through this program won the lottery at the end of it, and they're all millionaires now.
I'll speak to that. I think the short answer is it varies. Everybody's experience is different. I think there's sort of two things that we really hope that the folks who come through the program get out of the program. Maybe three. One is we obviously love the projects that people submit, and we do everything we can to sort of support you in helping to get them made. We also know like Hollywood is Hollywood, and even the greatest projects, or maybe especially the greatest projects, often don't get made. So that's not the only metric that we use, but we do have a pretty decent success rate. Like every group of fellows has had multiple projects that have moved forward in one way or another, which is great. The second thing we hope to do is to provide you with some skills that maybe you didn't have before, or to sharpen some skills that you had, or maybe you had sort of hadn't had a chance to work on in a while. Some deadlines, as Moujan said. So coming out of both your cohort, but also your time in the community with, some more skills. That's the second thing. And the third thing, and maybe the most important thing, is the community. It's the cohort model is really nice because you get to know really well a group of people, most of whom you probably have never met before, who do all different kinds of comedy, and we try to create a really supportive environment. So a lot of what we have to offer is really social capital, and that's the people that you meet who are other fellow comedians, but also the folks from the industry that we bring in, the folks from the nonprofits that we bring in, the folks from philanthropy that we bring in. And there are, lots of ways that the broader community can hopefully be helpful to you, in your journey. So I think those are the three sort of outcomes that we try, to have be the experience that everyone comes to the program. But there are definitely examples every year of folks that, sell a project, or raise money to fund a project, or, find an executive producer for a project, or get representation, which is a big thing. A lot of people come in unrepresented, and, we definitely try to have managers and agents, et cetera, come to our events and such. So yeah, hopefully that covers most of it.
Yeah, and I would just add, Mick, that I think there's a lot of people who have come through the program that like maybe they've gotten their first writing job after being through the program, either through connections they've made, or like Moujan said, I think the community tends to look to each other first when they're casting or looking into other things. So like it's a very interesting and I think beautiful space to be in, that like Ella Gale hired Moujan to do a voice in her podcast. And I think we see that kind of stuff a lot.
Great. There's a couple questions about the training experience to help prepare the pitch for YALL Fest. I'm wondering if Moujan, if you can talk about what, yeah, and you did already a little bit. You talked about how the training itself informed the project as well as the pitch. But yeah, can you speak to some of the training you received and feedback you got by being a YALL Fellow?
Yeah, I mean, I also came into it myself also with done previous pitches, so that definitely like helped my own experience. But during like the pitch weekend that we had in May, as I said before, it's like gave a deadline, and there were a lot of Zooms you guys had ahead of time to like help everyone in the process, regardless of what sort of project they had, to like get into like what is a pitch, what's the format of the pitch, like how do you get your idea down in 10 minutes, what's the important what's the story that you can get out and really get people excited about your project. And you guys gave a lot of tools for everyone, all the cohorts, for that to happen. And then during the pitch weekend, we truly just like ran it a bunch of times. We ran it in front of each other. We ran it in front of like previous cohorts and other experts, and got like a feedback from like a bunch of people. And even leading up to the pitch itself, which is in front of all these different people who are part of the industry, like producers, a manager, production company executives. We also practice it before then too, and so there's like a lot of practice, a lot of people, a lot of people at y'all helping you figure out like what your pitch is, how is it that you can get your story and your project to sell and to be shown in 10 minutes, which is basically what a meeting is in Hollywood. So yeah, there's a lot of resources and a lot of help. And it's if you've never done a pitch before, it seems such a scary idea, but they make it so simple to understand and there's so much support. So yeah.
Great. Someone asked when YALL Fest is. The exact date is TBD, but it'll be in April 2025 in New York City. Someone, actually, a few other folks asked, can we resubmit, or can we submit if we've been a part of it, or can we submit a project with someone that's already been a part of it, even if I haven't been a part of it? And the answer is yes, we have had folks apply with different projects and be in YALL, in 2020 and then again in 2022. Obviously, we are looking to support as many artists as we can given our structure. So we do look for new voices and new projects, but it has happened before, and we encourage people to apply again if they feel like the idea is exciting to them and it's in the right place for the lab. You can apply with someone who's already been in the lab, and it doesn't really affect your chances. It really just is the application that we're looking at. And another question, I'm just trying to speed through a little bit because we only have a few minutes left. Again, just about, it can be a live show, it can be a tour. Yes, we've had both. We've seen some really successful projects. One of the projects that was a tour of all Native comedians who do stand-up applied to our program in 2021. Jackie Kali'ia'a is the comedian who runs that tour of Native comics. They performed in 2024 at YALL Fest with that project a little bit more built out. And so we love the idea of a tour. We love the idea of YALL Fest being a place you bring on tour years down the road. And I think there's really, when we say any genre and any social justice topic, we really mean it. If you can convince us of its value, of the comedy, of the leadership you bring to it as the principal on the project, we are fully excited and invested. I think another question we had is just about the process about how are you protected as an applicant if you're submitting your ideas? Obviously, as we mentioned, we do have a jury and committees that read and review applications every year. How do we make sure that you're being protected and that your ideas aren't being taken or stolen by someone in that process? So Mick, I think you probably would be able to answer that the best.
Yeah, it's totally a fair question. One of the things when we started the program that we were really committed to was that you retain the rights to everything that you bring to the table. We're very deliberate about not asking people to make a pre-commit that they want to sell their program or do anything with it. I mean, literally all we're there is just essentially be supportive and helping projects move forward. So that's, I think, one of the principles that we bring to the table. In terms of like what guarantees there are, we've been running the program for 5 years. We've never had a problem. We're very selective about like who gets to look at applications. You can see for yourself exactly who's part of the process. We post it on the website. Yeah, but there's aside from saying like we've never had a problem and it's a small trusted group of people that are looking at it. And the Laughter Lab itself is not in the production, game. Like we're not looking for projects to try to go out and make. I think that's what we commit to. But yeah, I totally understand that some people can be nervous about putting a great idea out there. And, and if that's something that you're really nervous about, then sharing it with people there's always a risk. And so maybe it's, not the right fit for you. But we take that stuff very seriously, and it hasn't been a problem over, I don't know how many applications we've had, a couple thousand applications over the last 5 years.
And I would just add, not grounded anywhere except for anecdotally, the people that are reading your projects, they're, especially the talent, they are committed to uplifting their own projects. You know, they are really focused on getting their own stuff green lit. So I think you can understand that they're volunteering their time to support your project, but they're trying to sell their own in general.
Great. So we are at time, but I did want to leave off and see if maybe Moujan, do you have any last words? Like, why should someone apply to be a YALL Fellow?
I think it's been mentioned a couple times, and I was thinking of it too. I think if I can impart any wisdom from my many years in the business, it truly is about community. It's about the people you meet along the way, because you eventually, you know, if you're not, if you're a nice, kind person, hopefully everyone helps each other down the road. And so I think what was the most beneficial, I think for me and a lot of other people I know who've been part of y'all, is really about the community that you build. And the support that you get. And this may be the start of something, and it's never the end of something. So yeah, it's all about the people, I think.
Amazing. Anyone else, any last notes before we wrap up from the team?
We're so excited to read your projects. Can't wait to see what you bring to the table.
Yeah, thank you all. It's great to have you on this call too. It's just it's always helpful every year to see what questions you have and for us to do our best to answer them. If you have any other questions, you can shoot us an email or look at the website. But we're excited to see your applications over the next few weeks.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Check out yesandlaughterlab.com/apply. You can check out different parts of our website. We have a frequently asked questions section. We also link out to the terms and conditions of the application and the process to apply. And I know it's no one reads the terms and conditions, I know that, but these ones, if you're going to read any terms and conditions, read these ones. It gives specific information, it gives dates, it tells you who's reading the application at each stage and when that's all happening. Or you can just send your application off and find out in a few months if you are joining us as a YALL Fellow. So good luck to everybody. We so look forward to reading applications. Thank you for joining us, and check out our website and reach out with any questions. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.